Hello there and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Monica Gibson. Bruno Estier joins me in the studio once again. We'll be looking at the charts from a technical side of things. Bruno, welcome back to the studio.
Good morning, Monica.
Nice to see you again. Now, we're looking at the charts, as I said. Last time you were here, I believe you were talking about perhaps a decline in the US market. How are things looking now, Bruno?
Well, from last time, if we recall, 2 weeks ago, we had these charts in front of us, and we had made a new high on the S&P 500 at 2019, and immediately, in the 3 days later, it reversed down. Therefore, we realized that it was a bad sign and that we were pointing down towards the August low. Okay,
now do you think it's going to actually break through the August low?
Well, let's look in detail. First of all, what we noticed is last Thursday we had a spike low at 1926, and immediately it rebounded. Then yesterday it kind of revisited this spike low by coming all the way to 1936, and so it is kind of a retest of a low. It's again testing the buyers who probably could show up as the market is relatively oversold here and already moving back up. So anyway, if it doesn't rebound immediately today, the downside is relatively limited to the 1904, 1914 area.
Okay, and what about in terms of volatility? What are we seeing? Is that not rising in the market?
Well, volatility has been rising, and you are right. But if we look carefully, we noticed that last Thursday, when we made the big spike at 1926 on the S&P, the highest high was almost 18% on the VIX. And this time, as we come close lower at 1936, the VIX is not even reaching 18%, it's just reaching 17-20%. So somehow we have to look at the resistance trend line, this big blue line, which is capping the different spikes that we had already for last 2 years. And it's possible that really the VIX is already expecting too much. And therefore, if it is capped, that means the market could rebound.
Okay, so that's the US side of things. What about in terms of emerging markets? What are we seeing there?
Usually emerging markets which are more volatile are just overreacting. And what we noticed very recently is that on the top part of the panel, the ratio of the emerging market versus the S&P, instead of accelerating down in the last part, in the last 2 weeks, is just flattening out. So somehow the message coming from the emerging market is a little bit more stable. From a very volatile market, that's good news.
And in terms of Europe, we've had a lot of news there, but from a technical point of view, what are we seeing?
Europe has been tricky, and we noticed that recently on the way up, if we have here the relative strength of the Euro stocks versus the S&P 500, it was rising after a very long-term downtrend which was lasting for almost 1.5 years. Very recently, it just stabilized a little bit, and we see that basically this chart is almost school type things in respect of the trends. If we look at the red line, which is the former support trend line, which has been broken here, it acted perfectly as a resistance there, and from there we were expecting the market to move down. So now that we are close to this support trend line, we expect the market also to make a bottom in the area of 30, 50, 60 in the coming days, especially as the momentum oscillator is already oversold.
Okay, and maybe perhaps we can talk about the Japanese markets. Are they being affected by these events?
Well, the Japanese market was the great market because, as you see on the top part of the charts, we have the dotted line, which is here in black and is the relative strength of the Nikkei and versus the Euro stocks. And we see it has been moving up quite a lot. So therefore, we were expecting the correction to be much smaller in the Nikkei than in the other market. And that's exactly what's happening. And now on the Nikkei itself, we are still above the clouds on the lower part, the green part. And we have also probably are going to hold above the trend line, the support trend line around 1550. So we expect for the coming weeks to range between these 15,150 and 16,000.
Excellent. Well, Bruno, thank you for talking all through with us, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks when we can see whether or not that is actually what happens. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, well, that's all from Bruno and myself for another episode, but make sure you keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV for the hourly updates. Goodbye for now.